What's something weird, funny, embarrassing you've done on autopilot? I was looking all over for my keys and finally thought that I might have left them in the car. I went outside and my car was locked. So I pulled my keys out of my pocket, unlocked the door, opened the door and realized how much of an idiot I am. Washed an apple at the sink, dried it with a paper towel, turned and tossed the apple in the trash and stood there holding the towel like an idiot. Undressing to shower, I threw my underwear into the toilet instead of the laundry and flushed it. I kissed my wife's best friend. It was totally innocent and something we laughed about. I had to take a bus to work every day at about 4 AM. My wife usually drove me to the stop so that I didn't have to leave my car there for 14 hours. My wife's friend was staying with us while she looked for a job and house in the area. She was getting up early anyway, so she decided she would take me and let my wife sleep. When we got to the stop, I just instinctively leaned over and kissed her goodbye. She had a dumbfounded look on her face, and mine instantly turned red as I realized what I'd done. I just said sorry. It was a habit. Double quote. My wife poked fun at me for days for putting the moves on her friend. I used to work on a farm and we always took our boots off before entering the homestead for meal breaks. One afternoon I absent-mindedly unbuttoned my jeans and started to take them off instead of my boots. I guess my brain decided I was done for the day. Have a good day, sir. Double quote. Love you too. Double quote. Awkward shuffle out of Panera. I'm an ex-bus driver and many times on my way home from work, I would go to pull into a bus stop in my car. The pipe underneath my sink was broken, so I put a bucket below it to catch the water leaking out. When it was full, I poured it back in the sink and proceeded to flood my kitchen. I was working the back line at an Arby's way back in the day. We used to get our sub buns foot long, but all the subs we sold were 6-inch. I literally reached into the bag, grabbed a sub roll, cut it in half, and then put the knife back in the bag and tried to cut another sandwich with the sub bun. My manager saw it and died. Was signing for a parcel on one of those electronic things delivery drivers use, and I wasn't paying any attention and ended up staring at it for a minute and then just drawing a straight line on the screen and handing it back. He was confused. My wife's friend and her husband were leaving after having dinner at our house. As they're leaving, she says love you to my wife. Naturally, I respond love you T. Ooh, yeah. Good night. Double quote. Go to the cinema to watch Quantum of Solace. Walk in 5 minutes late. Furious car chase on screen. Instinctively try to find my seatbelt. I tried putting the milk bottle back in the microwave, then got mad when it didn't fit. I only stopped trying cause my brother was there watching and he started laughing. Always running to catch the subway after waiting at the crosswalk in front of the station. Casually walking with my friend in the same area yesterday. Started running when the cross sign lit up. He was like WTF. I had recently been attending a lot of marital arts classes at night. One morning at work I accidentally bowed at my boss when I entered his office. This was in the US. Neither of us are of Asian descent. And yes, he noticed. It was awkward. Stopped at a stop sign and waited at least a minute and a half for it to turn green. I was feeling an encroaching sickness coming upon me one time. So I decided to be proactive and make myself a couple of days worth of the most baller chicken soup I could manage in advance. So I'd be able to eat well even when I was dying of the lurgy. I chopped the carrots. I sorted the onions. I stewed the chicken bones. And I cooked that motherfucker down for 8 hours into the most delicious stock you could imagine. Then I poured it all through a colander into the sink. I've worked as a caregiver for adults with mental and physical disabilities for more than a decade now. I'm a caregiver. I do basic cares, which include helping many adult men do their daily activities. Things like shaving, buttoning shirts, making sure belts are on correctly, so on and so forth. Once on a date, I was a bit buzzed. I fixed my date's shirt and told him he needed to look in the mirror and see if he wanted a shave. On the railroad, you can get verbal permission to pass a red signal or flag, either from the dispatcher or the employee who placed the red flag. You cannot under any circumstances pass a blue light or flag, because that protects employees working on under between rolling stock beyond the blue signal. Driving home in the car late one night, I decided to take a shortcut through the local university. I go around a corner and see a blue light marking a police call station. Immediate conclusion: shit, can't go that way. Double quote. I was sitting in math class one day, and I was just humming to myself while the teacher explained something at the board. She went to turn off the projector, which is next to my desk. Then, still standing next to me, she gives me this weird look and asks, "Is something wrong?" Double quote. I had been so deep in thought that I had lost the tune but kept humming. So I was now just humming along. Low HMMMMMMMM without any change in pitch. So yeah. That was embarrassing. I lived in the same house for 16 years. Moved out. Years later I did some summer work as a construction worker on my old house. First day I walked in, mindlessly did what I always did when I came in. Waltzed into the kitchen during the family's breakfast. Opened the fridge and peered inside for a long while looking for something to eat. I came to myself, dude, I don't live here anymore. Looked up, and the family was all staring at me from the breakfast table. Forks in midair. At this unknown construction worker making himself right at home. I was so embarrassed I backed out, stammering the whole time and trying to have them understand I'm so sorry, I used to live here. Wasn't allowed inside work at that job site for a while. Was taking my belt off at Batsa and then pulled down my pants. Got to my ankles and was like, nope. Back up. Family member or friend calls me. Thank you for calling. Call center job. My name is Dandy Lou. To better assist you, may I please have your membership number? Double quote. Started to trim my beard and didn't see the guard was off. Huge swath of beard gone in one swipe. The kids still refer to me during the beardless months as creepy daddy and I am not allowed to shave it off again. I used to work in a factory, starting at 6 AM. So I'd have to get out of bed around 5:15 each morning. There was one morning when I got up, had my breakfast and left as usual. Drove round the corner to the garage where I would buy my lunch. It seemed a lot quieter than usual, but being half asleep myself, it only half registered. Then I got back in my car and noticed the time. I was awake 3 hours early. FML. I went home and back to bed for a couple of hours. I work as a housekeeper and when we knock on a door we yell housekeeping and when we throw laundry down the chute we yell heads, so those below watch their heads. Anyway, one day I knocked on a door and loudly yelled heads. Later that day the back of my mind remembered my mistake and made sure to correct it, but I overcorrected and stupidly yelled housekeeping down the laundry chute. My wife says she once ate pizza at a friend's house and, out of habit, threw the crust on the floor for the dog. Those friends didn't have a dog. I placed my cell phone in the fridge and left the milk out after making myself some cereal. Just dad, thank goodness. Here you go. If you need anything else, just let me know. Comma. As I graciously put down the plate with food I cooked for the only person in the room. Me. I've been working with children for 7 years now. When I'm drunk, tired, otherwise distracted, I go into teacher mode. If I'm traveling with people, I'll count them on and off public transport. I offer everyone water and snacks if I have them. And even tell complete strangers to use your walking feet inside voice if they're running or shouting. I didn't even know I was doing it till my boyfriend pointed it out to me. I was talking to my boyfriend while he was eating a sandwich. In mid-sentence, he ripped a piece off and threw it at my face. He looked stunned when I didn't open my mouth and catch it. We have a dog. We both nearly peed laughing. At the gym, there is an arm curl machine. Typically I do a heavy amount. But that day I was tired and pretty brain dead. As I used the machine, I didn't realize that there was no weight on it. And I tried curling it with effort as normal. I ended up slamming myself in the head with the bar. And everyone in the gym heard it. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes. Dipped a knife in a cup and tried to drink out of a jam jar. Go to check the mail. Grab the keys. Oh yeah. There is garbage recycling that needs to go out. I stop at mailbox. I get mail. Throw away the garbage. Throw away the mail. Throw away my keys. Neighbor asks if I am going to need those. I just kind of stop. Look around a bit and say, well, yeah, probably. Started unbuttoning and unzipping my trousers while I walked towards the toilet. Just like I do at home because I'm efficient like that. Except I was at work and was walking through the shared office. As a teenager, I worked at McDonald's. My McDonald's was 24 hours and during the summer, I worked the overnight shift. My sleep schedule would get all messed up. My parents woke me up for dinner one evening. I zombie walked to the table and sat down. My dad asked me to say grace. I bow my head and say, "Thank you for choosing McDonald's. May I take your order?" Double quote. Most cringe moment of my adult life probably. I finally got a job as a wine consultant that I had been trying to get for years. It was just a position at our local grocery store, but our wine department was the best in town, so I was pumped. Doing a great job and getting regulars at my tastings and shit. One day I get to do a tasting with a fairly expensive bottle of champagne, around $130. I opened the bottle and it starts to fizz over. Wasn't cooled enough yet, and my instant reaction is to start chugging it because that's what you do when that happens with a beer or soda. But this was champagne. Expensive champagne. And I'm chugging it in the middle of the sales floor. While on clock. In a grocery store. Still cringe when I think about it. Edit. Holy shit, my inbox. I'll try to get some of these replies out. Also thanks for the silver. I had a deadline and I was very sleep deprived. I drank a lot of coffee, so I had to visit the loo a lot. One particular pee visit late at night. I went to wash my hands as usual, but the tap wouldn't budge. I kept turning it yet no water would come out. So I did what most adults would do when that happens. I started crying and called for someone to check it. Saying that I broke the tap in between gasps. Boyfriend walked to the sink and magically fixed the tap. I was turning it the wrong way. Right after high school, I worked as a pharmacy technician during the week and a waitress on weekends. Sometimes I'd waitress a dinner shift during the week. And the next day, without fail, I'd almost always answer the phone at the pharmacy saying thank you for calling Pizza Hut, Brown's Pharmacy. I've sent nearly half a dozen emails addressed to all with C attached without adding the attachment. Each time I've done that I think I lost a few months of my life due to self-dread and loathing. One morning I was sick and stayed home from work. My wife was being really awesome and served me breakfast. Trying to show her how thankful I was, I said thanks mom. We both just stared at each other for a second then burst out laughing. Took my newborn kid to the grocery store with my wife. I had a buggy with the baby. She had the buggy with the groceries. I had been rocking the buggy back and forth to soothe the kid since he was getting antsy. My wife and I traded buggies. So she had the baby. I had the groceries. Cue me rocking the buggy with groceries in the cereal aisle. I was late to my first day of work. Autopilot me chose to go to my previous employer of 15 years where I had quit. I realized about 5 minutes before getting there and had to drive about 25 minutes back in the direction I came from. Old job was about 30 minutes depending on traffic. New job was about 5. Same industry. New co-workers just laughed it off. 15 years of the same commute. Same truck. Same tools. Just another Monday on autopilot. I heard the doorbell go the moment I stepped out of the shower. Without thinking I rushed to answer the door, forgetting that I was dripping wet and completely naked. The poor delivery guy didn't know where to look and it took me a moment to realize what situation I was in. Oh god. This makes me want to die. My ex-boyfriend and I had this thing where we'd take things out of context and make them mushy. Like I might say tonight's sunset is really beautiful and he'd say, no, you're really beautiful. Or ouch. This soup is so hot would be answered with ouch. You are so hot. Once my co-worker sampled one of our coffee creamers, made a face and said, that's far too sweet. I automatically responded with, no. You're far too sweet, imitating his voice and face while still working at my desk. When I looked up after realizing I said it aloud, his eyes were pretty wide. Full on autopilot. My mom hated when I slept in the living room. If she found me sleeping there, she would always wake me up and tell me to go to my room. Well, one morning she thanked me for being so nice and agreeable. I asked her what she was talking about. She told me when she got home I was sleeping on the sofa and she told me to get up. Well, I was told I got up right away and with no argument went upstairs. My mom said she asked me if I had taken my meds and when I told her no, I walked right into the bathroom and took them. Wished her a good night and went to bed. I remember none of it. So it seems I not only slept walk, but also slept talked and slept self-medicated.